This is Bumper to Bumper, the car show. Drive in anxious and cruise out confident. With the best automotive information for your vehicle. And now your hosts, Matt Allen and Dave Riccio.
Well, happy Mother's Day weekend, all you mothers out there. Welcome to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio, here along with Matt Allen. We are your KTAR car guys, heard here every Saturday from 11 to noon. At Bumper to Bumper Radio, we're helping you, the motoring public, have a better overall car experience. If you've got questions, we've got answers, so we encourage you to give us a call at 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR. You can also text us at 411-923. Anything about your car, if you've got a write-up from a shop, a repair that you're considering, if your car's making a strange noise and you're just not sure what it is and which path to go down, anything related to your car, if you're looking to buy a car and wondering what kind of car is a good car, you can give us a call. Today on the Bumper to Bumper Roadmap, we've got an email of the week from one of our listeners. Of course, open phones and text. And diagnostic. Last week we had a call from a gentleman who said, I put a this on my car, and I put a that on my car, and I put a that on my car, and I still have the same problem. But $1,000 later.
And I think part of that started with, I went to the auto parts store and they did the diagnosis, which really is they plugged in their little, the generic code reader, and it gave them a code. So that wasn't really a diagnosis. It's kind of a test, I guess, right? Or is it just reading the computer?
Yeah, anytime your car has an issue, there's a very good possibility that the computer is going to recognize it, and it's going to set a diagnostic trouble code. That's a little error message in the computer. So it's a starting place. It's not. I wouldn't necessarily call it a diagnostic. Hey, we read the error message. We know we've got chest pains. Do we got indigestion, or do we need open heart surgery? And they give you a little printout, and it says, well, I'll give you an example, P0740. Well, you need possibly a transmission problem, possibly a solenoid problem, possibly a wiring problem, and possibly a computer problem. Well, those are four big possibilities that are going to take a lot of work to get to. So I wouldn't refer that so much as a diagnostic, but that's hey, we think we got a problem over in this section. That's why that little yellow light turned on. So diagnosis, what is diagnosis? It's one of those things at the auto shop I don't think people like paying for.
Well, they don't, Dave. I mean, we talked a little bit about the show of how the diagnostic started. When did we, as shop owners, have to start charging for this thing called diagnosis? And I'm kind of the theory, part of it probably in the early 80s when shops had to start buying all this big equipment that didn't fit inside the toolbox. Now the shop owner has to say, gosh, we have to charge for using this expensive equipment. I think it's part of that, along with the complicated systems and the sense of maybe community. Everybody used to go down to the corner gas station, and Larry the mechanic would open up the hood, start doing the adjusting, and call you up and say either I fixed it or it's going to need this, and you would say okay, and then it was just done. The car was solved. But then cars got more expensive to fix, and maybe Larry would go spend all this time, and then people go, well, I don't want to do that.
Well, Larry's got a bunch of time into it.
Yeah, and Larry has intellectual knowledge. He's got the tools. He's got all this stuff. So I think maybe the lack of loyalty from consumers spurred on some of this need to diagnose. I mean, you go to the shop, it says free diagnosis. Do you really think you've got no relationship with this guy? You just walk up, they're going to work on your car for free? I mean, you're just going to flag some guy down the road and ask him to mow your grass? You think he does that for free? No, sometimes there's something free. I'll do free diagnosis at my shop when I have a good relationship with a regular customer, and I know that I can just go in, or just something was really quick and easy.
It's not even a conversation.
It's not even a conversation. Yeah, it's just done and thank you. So that's a little bit of it, but people don't like it. And whether it's the perception because they think they may be able to get it for free, but you know what free stuff is worth?
What you paid for it.
Yeah, not a whole lot.
Well,
at times. I mean, I've seen it, Dave. I've know of you seen it. I had a guy come in from the shop around the corner from me. Oh, they said I need a new transmission. How much was did they charge you for diagnosing it? No, and they wanted a second opinion. Well, our diagnosis was $175. But guess what? They didn't end up with a $2,000 transmission they didn't need. they had a wiring repair for $400.
Well, it is one of those things where I see consumers try and save a dime and cost themselves $1.
Chipping over dollars to save dimes.
Exactly. And so you think I'm getting something for free, but it's gonna cost you. And it's frustrating in our business. It's a frustration, but I think it's probably just more of a, hey, what the heck are we doing, and why am I paying for diagnostics? So let's take the example of the gas cap code that we had talked about emissions last week, and they were talking about giving away free gas caps as part of their deal. But if someone's got that little emissions light on, it could be the gas cap, but it could be a lot of other things. What are the steps, Matt, that we go through to figure out what's the code number on a gas cap code?
Oh, it's one of those 400 series codes, but any of them, you have to think about it. You have to do the basics. You've got to check the battery on the car. You've got to check the charging system. Everything is centered around a good, solid foundation of electronics on the car. So that's basics. You've got to test drive the car. You've got to verify the problem. You've got to pull out a several $1,000 scan tool or computer to read some data, maybe test drive it, confirm the problem first, erase the data after you've logged it, go drive it again, get it to act up. And now you've got to pull, and that's before we've even opened the hood or done anything.
Just to start.
Now you've got to start. We have to make sure it's full of oil. Just all the basics, and then we got to dig in, and then we've got to start testing. You have to be able to read that information. We're just not pulling the code. People think, like you mentioned, you go to the auto parts store. It's not a diagnosis. That's not what we're doing. And I have a lot of people say to me, "Oh my gosh, $150 just to look at my car? I'll pull up a lounge chair and drink a beer and look at it for nothing." I'm not just looking at it. People really try to reduce this thing down to nothing, and I think a lot of people have just devalued it.
Well, it's one of those things. I know when I buy stuff, I minimize and I maximize. So if I'm selling something, it's the biggest, greatest thing in the world. If I'm buying something, I'm going to minimize everything you're selling to me to make it less valuable to you so I can buy it at a cheaper price. And that's human nature.
And I never thought of it till today. I think in a lot of cases, the diagnosis or the inspection that you may do, that's a lot like the service call. The drain's plugged up. The plumber, you don't need a plumber to tell you, when the toilet's overflown or the dishwasher doesn't, or the disposal's backed up, or whatever the case is. Yeah, that's pretty obvious. Yeah, your car's running bad. I know. But so we got to get there. And then when the plumber gets there, yep, you're right. It's backed up. We're here. That was the $85 or the $100. Now the work begins. Roto-rootering.
I wish it was easy as finding a plugged drain. I do wish that, because there's a whole lot more that goes into it. So I'm going to go scan the car. I'm going to road test the car. I'm going to visually inspect the car. The next thing I'm going to also do is I'm going to go look at the problem database. So we can go see, hey, we've got all this information from all the technicians around the states looking at this vehicle, and with this symptom, these are some of the possibilities. Now I got to go test each of those possibilities. Like I say, could be the computer, could be the solenoid, could be the wiring. Well, those are a lot of could be. So now I got to test the wiring. I got to electrically test it to see if it's good. So there's a lot that goes into it that I don't think that people realize, and it's the hardest part of our job. Otherwise, it's all just nuts and bolts. Unbolt it, bolt it back on. Unbolt it, bolt it back on. That part of the job's easy. It's figuring out what we need to unbolt.
Yeah, and then then people ask, well, when is it appropriate to have a diagnostic testing or that kind of work done? And I'm gonna say that that's something that you should expect to have anytime you have a problem. If you go to the shop and you say, my check engine light is on, that's a diagnostic situation. My car is doing this once in a while, that's a diagnostic or a testing situation. I never really thought of an oil leak as a diagnostic. I was a drivability technician and tune-ups in electronics. That's what I did as a tech. I never fixed oil leaks and did brake jobs, really.
He had a full head of hair back then, too.
Yeah, partial, yeah. I started going bald early, Dave.
Real quick.
But my point is that it's still time. You take an oil leak, for example. Maybe it's easy to find. Maybe it's not. Maybe we have to put some dye in the system. So that's not what people would traditionally think as a typical diagnosis using a meter or a scan tool. But you think about that one. You got to pull the car in. Maybe it just made a little bit of a mess and it's fairly easy to see. Or maybe not. Maybe you've got to get a can of cleaner out and you've got to hose the thing off. or pressure wash it. Maybe you got to put some dye in it. Once it's clean, now you got to make it leak again, right?
Got to go drive it.
Now you got to go drive it, and that's 2 or 3 miles. And you probably had a 1 or 2 mile test drive before you even brought the car in the shop. You've got to listen for all those rattles and stuff that were never there until you worked on it. You know what I mean? And document that. And so that takes time to do. So all these different scenarios are inspections and diagnose, and there's value there. And if you don't think you're paying for it,
it's
you're
there
fooled.
somewhere in the price. Yeah. So when we come back, we're taking your calls at 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR. We can also talk about a little bit of Google Gnostics or WebMD. That place leaves me more confused about that pain in my elbow. When we come back, you listen to Bumper Radio. Matt and I share car repair tips weekly to help you keep your car safely on the road, and a few of them are easy to do.
Yep, you're right, Dave. And one of the easiest is to have a dependable battery that you can trust to get you started no matter what the conditions.
Interstate batteries are what we trust at Bumper to Bumper Radio. In fact, they're what we use at our own shops for our customers.
If you're like most people, your car is one of your most valuable investments. Make sure you take care of that investment with the power necessary to get you where you need to be. Interstate batteries are America's #1 replacement brand with the factory fresh guarantee, and they're easy to find at good shops everywhere.
Cars or trucks, Interstate has you covered with long life and performance in our harsh desert climates with products like Megatron Plus that carries a 30-month free replacement and a 6-year performance guarantee.
Interstate batteries, no battery lasts longer. Check them out at interstatebatteries.com.
Hi, I'm Scott, General Manager with Whitey's Auto Repair here in South Scottsdale. We built a reputation for quality auto service and repair for over 45 years, and our customers have come to trust us for our recommendations. We value that trust, and that's why when it comes to transmissions, for the past several decades, we have been recommending Tri-City Transmission. They have yet to disappoint. I feel so strongly about it, I wouldn't go anywhere else. Why would you? Google them online today at tricitytransmission.com. Go where the pros go. Tri-City Transmission.
Ready to improve your game? Hi, I'm Greg McLean.
And I'm Brandon Harris. We created Premier Fitness Systems, a completely unique training and golf performance center in Scottsdale with a focus on strength, flexibility, posture, alignment, and body position.
Having achieved great success with professional golfers and teaching pros, we're now offering you a challenge to improve your game with a free TPI golf screening and 2 golf performance training sessions. For our offer and testimonials, go to premierfitnesssystems.com.
Improve your game, improve your life. Premier Fitness Systems.
Who can you trust here in the Valley to repair your ride? This is Bumper to Bumper Radio. KTAR News on 92.3 FM.
Well, welcome back to Bumper Radio. I'm Dave Riccio here along with Matt Allen, and together we are your KTAR car guys. We've got Brandon on the line, and then open lines at 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR. And before the break, I mentioned Google Gnostics. You know, you can almost type in any car symptom or problem or diagnostic trouble code maybe you got from the auto parts shop, and it'll give you some answers.
That's just the guy at the parts store on steroids. That's like going and asking 100,000 people the same question. You're going to get all the different feedback.
Well, I think the hard part is that we don't. If we're not in the business, we don't really know how to read those symptoms. So I'm reading a symptom, and gosh, it looks like just like my problem. And I'll have someone come in, and they'll bring in their Google Gnostics, I call it, and they'll say, "Hey, I've got this Honda Accord, and I got this, that, the other, and the other problem happening. What do you think? Can we get that fixed?" I said, everything you read is on the 2.3 liter, and you got the 3 liter. It doesn't even apply to your car. And they go, oh. You know, but that's the way it can happen.
Well,
when I go to WebMD, I'm looking at stuff, and I go, yeah, I got that. But is it indigestion, or do I need open heart surgery? And so how to interpret that information is what we learned over the decades of being in this business. How do we go about doing that? So Google Gnostics, to me, is the same as WebMD, and I don't think WebMD... It is nice to kind of go read up what it could be, kind of get a feel, you know, before I actually go make that doctor's appointment. But it's not the end all.
Yeah, sometimes it's just as confusing. And some things that people might get diagnostic work done on this morning, and maybe not. It's cold. I don't know when it was this cold last time in May.
Oh, way cold.
But I bet there's a whole lot of check engine lights on this morning for stuck it's probably a stuck thermostat. The code is going to be like a 128 or something like that.
Engine cold too long.
Not up to operating temperature. And the other one, there's probably a lot of tire pressure warning lights on this morning.
That was definitely me. I saw it first thing. I'm like, oh, man, really?
And over the years, though, a lot of those are just, they're low on pressure and you can adjust them and fix them. But now that those systems, Dave, what is it? I think they were mandatory in 2007. So they're coming out now. We're getting on 7 years old. This is when the batteries are starting to fail inside of the sensors. So sometimes it's just a matter of airing up the tire and resetting the system. Sometimes not, though. The sensor's not reading. So now we have to decide, do we have a bad sensor that's not putting out or accepting the radio signal? There's another computer inside the car that's sending out. The antenna's got to work, the amplifier's got to work, and it's got to have the ability to talk to all four of the sensors on the car.
That's a big change. If you think you go back to the 80s, we didn't even have cup holders in cars.
No.
Now it's like standard equipment, No cup holders, and now we got to diagnose these things, and there's now, I don't know, like 20 computers on the thing. You got to dial up this one. What's going on over there? We got to up this. What's going on over there?
You had to hold your beer between your legs instead of,
Maybe you.
No, I'm joking. But, so just the way that it's going. So you really have to have an open mind when you're going in the shop. And I think the shop that breaks it out for you is actually doing you a better job. They're just not burying these fees in there. And really what I think, too, the other reason that people do free diagnosis, they know you have something wrong with your car. I'm going to get you in. It's free. Come on in. It's the loss leader. It's the $9 oil change is the free diagnosis. You're bound to have a problem that you have to fix. And if I can get you here, I have a chance of getting that job. Because we've seen just as much of that with these shops now that used to specialize in transmissions, and all they did was brakes. But now, guess what? They're auto service experts. Now they know everything. Well, we've had some of those. After they've done the check engine light. And remember, this testing was free, right? So, did this test, did that test. We put this sensor on, that sensor on. Spend $500-$600 and then they throw in the towel and say, "Gee, we don't have the equipment necessary. You're going to have to go to the dealer." Well, then that gives all of us guys who can fix the car and who do charge for diagnosis. The dealer doesn't do it for free either, by the way.
Everybody's got to charge. It's there. You're going to pay for it no matter what. You can't skip out. Hey, I want to get to Brandon in Phoenix on a F350 1996. Brandon, you're on Bumper to Bumper Radio. How can we help you today?
Well, how are you guys today?
Great.
Fantastic.
Good deal. So a couple months ago, we had a pretty big rain, and I was driving up off Carefree Highway, and I had no idea how deep the water was across this road. I've driven the road hundreds of times. I went through the water, really, really bogged my truck down. I had a bunch of weight in the back of my truck. Excuse me. And after that, my transmission started shifting really weird. I took it into a tranny shop. They scanned it. They said that I had an open neutral safety switch. I fixed that. But ever since that day, my truck literally has not ran right. I mean, ever since that day. So I had it scanned. I started fixing the stuff that was wrong with it on the scanner. I've done a throttle positioning sensor, fuel pressure regulator, injectors, battery, O2 sensor, fuel pumps, fuel filter, coil, temperature sending unit, thermostat.
Now, I'm getting sick kind of hearing all these things that you did. I'm starting to feel bad for you.
He's turning green.
I mean, what was the basis for replacing all that stuff? Was it guessing, or because you thought that's what it might be, or
every time I scan the truck, I have a handheld scanner. It's OBD1, and so every time I scanned it, it would pop up with another code at me. And so I was like, okay, well, it's not throwing the throttle positioning sensor code. It's throwing my intake manifold pressure sensor code. So I replaced that, and then I kept going forth with that until literally I was out of options. I couldn't replace anything else in the truck.
It's almost brand new.
Yeah. I finally gave up and took it into a shop. Excuse me again. And they had diagnosed that my computer was bad. And so I tracked down a computer. I found a computer finally because Ford doesn't make it for my truck. No aftermarket companies make it for my truck. I finally found one that matches my calibration code and everything else out of Pennsylvania. Had it shipped over here, installed it. Ran great for a day. One day, and now I'm back to the same thing. It runs beautiful in the morning, and it's gas, by the way, 460. It runs beautiful in the morning when the temperatures are cool. It runs awesome at nighttime, same thing, temperatures are low. And in the middle of the day, it bogs down. Like I'd go give it, if I'm sitting at a stoplight or something like that, my idle gets real choppy. If I'm just sitting there with my foot on the brake, it goes from a nice idle, and then all of a sudden it's got a nasty lope in it, like I've got a top fuel drag car.
Okay, well, I'm hearing a couple different things here. It started after it got wet, so that's where I'm going to start looking. If this is in my shop, what got wet? What could have possibly happened? The other thing here, and I can tell you, this car shows up at my counter. You can't even leave it unless you're willing to spend $1,000. That doesn't mean the bill is going to be $1,000, but you think about what we've got to go through to confirm what we're telling you is right. And not only that, the other thing I heard is I had it diagnosed by somebody, and then I took it and I fixed it. Kind of not the same. Let somebody else take ownership of this so that they can own it until it's fixed, and then you'll probably spend less money and end up with a car with the problem solved sooner.
Thanks so much for the call. 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR. You can text us at 411-923. We'll be right back.
There's nothing more important than family. Hi, Kurt Rock for Kurt's Auto Repair. Family owned and operated and bumper-to-bumper radio preferred. We've been taking care of Valley families and their auto care needs with a perfect Better Business record for over 27 years. Come experience the difference our ASE Master Techs can make for you and your family at Kurt's Auto Repair. Just east of I-17 at 22nd Avenue and Bell Road, or online at mycarhurts.com. Gas or diesel, foreign or domestic. If your car hurts, take it to Kurt's.
Swaying palm trees, poolside margaritas, and lush championship golf. Don't waste all your precious time, gas, and money trying to cram a 3-day road trip into your Memorial Day weekend this year. Hi, this is Jerry Colangelo, inviting you back to 1965 as we celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Golden Patriot courses at the historic Wigwam Resort. Our summer of celebration kicks off this Memorial Day weekend with Bunker to Bunker, the golf show's throwback with Bunkerville Golf Tournament. The 4th annual Stay and Play sells out quickly every year for good reason. Great golf, great resort, great values. The 2-person scramble is on the world-renowned Gold Course, loaded with special throwback prizes, awards, and lunch. It even includes a free coupon for a second round of golf, all for just $82. Bring the whole family and enjoy the entire weekend with room night specials starting at just $110 per night. Now that's a holiday value you won't find anywhere else. Proceeds benefit Phoenix Children's Hospital and the Fighter Country Partnership. Space is limited, so register today at bunkergolf.com.
Trust. It's hard to earn and sometimes even harder to find. If you live or work in downtown Phoenix, Matt Allen's Virginia Auto Service is celebrating over 20 years of award-winning service at the corner of 7th Street and Virginia. Recognized as one of the best service shops in the country, their customers have come to trust Virginia Auto Service for its A+ rating by the BBB, 2-year 24,000-mile warranties, and free transportation to and from your home or office. 20+ years of earning your trust.
This is Bumper to Bumper Radio, KTAR News on 92.3 FM.
I'm Matt Allen along with Dave Riccio, and here we are this morning talking about your car. And we started off with diagnostic services when you need them, maybe when you don't need them, and our free one's a good idea. Probably talked about a lot of people out there with tire pressure monitoring lights on this morning. Maybe you got that funky looking little horseshoe. You're not really sure what it is. Need to get the owner's manual out and see if it really needs some attention. Anything wrong with your car, you want to give us a call, 602-277-5827. It's 602-277-KTAR. Dave, what do you want to do?
Well, they can also text us at 411-923. We got a text from Sean, a regular listener who's a mail carrier, and he wants to mention the food drive that's going on today. And I know that it's a big food drive, so you can lose some non-perishable stuff in your mailbox and let them pick it up.
The mailman will pick it up. You don't even have to go anywhere. See how easy they make it?
Simple. That works out great.
And we need to be doing that stuff year-round, not just at Thanksgiving or Christmas. There are shelters out there and people that need help all the time. So just remember, be in the giving spirit year-round if you can.
I've also got a text. Looks like this person's got an Avalon with 90,000 miles on it. They were at their local shop who said the rack and pinion is leaking and it need a replacement for $1,200. And they say they don't see anything on their garage floor. Might it be safe for a while? Question. Will it be safe? And why rack and pinion leak and no leaks on the floor? What's going on, Matt?
Well, again, those leaks, that is so subjective. I mean, how bad is it leaking? Where is it leaking? Why aren't you seeing it on the ground? A lot of people don't park in the same spot. This person sounds like they're pretty familiar with their garage space. We said on the air before, nobody ever knows what's underneath where their car was because they're never looking at it. They're always in their car. They're out of their car when it's parked where they park.
You're looking behind you when you back up.
Yeah. So you do have to take a look and see what is on the ground. And we've talked about it in shows past. The oil leaks I don't see. Maybe the bellows boot is all filled up with oil and it just hasn't dripped to the ground yet. Maybe there's a little bit of what we might call sweat, and you have a shop that is really just eager to do some work because it's not very busy that day. And maybe they're being a little bit aggressive. So that's the beauty of what we're doing in our shop, Dave, with digital inspections. We're taking photographs of this stuff so we can share it with you and quantify, or I'm going to bring you out.
Well, on the leak scale, if you're a consumer and you're in a shop and you get a leak, we rate leaks on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being a little dust and a little oil around the seal, but nothing's really leaking, nothing's happening. And 5 is like a hurricane. It's bad news. Get some sort of gauge on how bad this is. Mm-hmm. And not only that, this person's asking, is it safe for a while? I bet if you asked them and they're a reasonable shop, they'd be more than happy to show you where it's leaking. You can look at it and say, okay, it's going to help you. You say, hey, I might not know what I'm looking at. Don't use that as an excuse. Go look. Get them to show you their car. They're going to be happy to show it to you. And also, when you're going through that process, you're going to get a feel for the guy you're talking to. Because when we're looking at something we don't know anything about, we got to use our people skills, our human nature skills to figure out what the heck's going on here.
In our gut.
And if this guy's talking to you and maybe he's a really good snake oil salesman and he's looking at something that you're like, I don't see anything there. And he's like, oh, yeah, so unsafe. Well, you're going to know, hey, I'm not going back there.
Yeah, I mean, likely if you went in there without a problem and this was something discovered during a regular visit like an oil change, it is likely that is going to be safe for a long time. If you've never had to add fluid or you didn't have a symptom related to that issue, maybe it's worth a second opinion if that's not your regular guy. Or if it is your regular guy, show and tell is
and if you're
good.
looking for a shop, bumpertobumperradio.com. We've got to get to Jim in Mesa on a 1998 Honda CR-V. How can we help you, Jim? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hello there. How are you today?
Fantastic.
Okay, I've got a good one for you. It'll be for you guys. A 98 Honda CR-V, automatic, of course, all-wheel drive, 350,000 miles on that bad boy. Okay, I threw a P05, 0505 code because my idle was fluctuating all over the place. So I went ahead and spent the money to replace the idle air control valve, which is a waste of money because that didn't solve anything. So where do I go from here?
Well, I'm not familiar with what exactly the description of the 505 code is. But I would go to a shop that has the equipment that can fix your car and diagnose it, solve the problem. That Honda idle air control motor, I don't think is very inexpensive.
Oh, it's probably I would venture to say it's at least a $300 deal. Oh, at least
every bit of it. So, again, not knowing the exact description of that code off the top of my head, but if you have a fluctuating idle, you could have an oxygen sensor that we call lazy, who's instead of making that fuel decision very fast, rich, lean, give me more, give me less, give me more, give me less. If it's doing that slow, give me some more fuel. Turn it down. that could be causing that problem.
Or a vacuum leak.
You could have a vacuum. You could have just a dirty, clogged up, carboned up throttle body or PCV valve system that is not working well, and you didn't need any parts. 350,000 miles, that's a lot of miles. You could have a bad throttle position sensor.
Maybe you should get Mom a new CRV for Mother's Day. It's getting pretty tired.
But just, again, you've got to look at that trouble chart. And again, Dave, you brought it up. I don't think we talked about it on the air. That diagnostic trouble chart is kind of for a newer car. After something's got 350,000 miles on it and rattled and shaked, and 4 people have worked on it over the years, and
all that stuff goes out the window.
It's
still a part, but it's just not. There's more possibilities. At 350,000 miles, I would venture to say 10 different technicians have been working on it.
Yeah, and brain fart. But what I'm saying is, when those diagnostic charts were also developed, that was a white sheet in an engineering environment. The car was brand new. It's just not. It's not there to identify every possible situation. It is a good guide.
602-277-5827. We've got 4 calls and 1 open, but I want to get to this text here. Looks like Marcos from Tolleson has a 99 Nissan Pathfinder. He changed the belt 7 months ago, and now when he starts it, he gets a squeak that goes on for about 3 minutes. That's the annoying squeak that wakes up your neighbors in the morning. You fire that, you're going, oh gosh, I hope. So what could be going on? Why does he have this squeak? You ever heard a squeak from a car belt in the morning?
Well, the belt's hydroplaning. It's just like a tire skidding or burning out on the pavement. The belt and the pulley, there's some slippage there. So you've got a belt that's too loose, or a bearing or idler surface that's bad, or something in the pulley system, and that's a whole system. But it very well could just be a loose belt or bad tensioner.
Bad tensioner. Also, if you got a bearing going bad, it's kind of draggy. It takes a little while to get that thing kick-started in the morning. So thanks for the text. Let's go with who am I going to go with, Matt? I'm going to go with Ryan and Gilbert on an 05 Honda Civic. How can we help you, Ryan? You're on Bumper to Bumper.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
You
I
bet.
was using a engine cleaner this morning, and the car was hot, and there's a piece in the lower front of the Civic with a wire coming out of it, and that was steaming pretty bad. It was smoking, and it smelled pretty bad, and so it kind of got me to worrying a little bit. I'm not sure if you guys know the piece that I'm talking about and if that's going to be an issue.
A little lost. You were doing an engine clean, like pressure washing the engine?
I was using a spray out of an aerosol can. I got an engine cleaning kit from AutoZone.
I mean, to clean grease off the outside, or are you trying to clean carbon off the inside?
Clean grease off of the inside of the engine.
I'm still confused, Dave. I mean, are you degreasing the engine, or are you doing an engine decarbon to make the car run better?
Degreasing the engine.
Okay, you're degreasing the externals of the engine. And then what? And so you hosed it all down with this cleaner and chemical and stuff?
Yes, I did. And there's a front part of the car that has a wire coming out of it, and it just smoked up pretty bad, and the wiring is all eroded now. So I need to know if that's an issue.
Well, maybe is this a 4? Yeah, it's a 4-cylinder. Maybe you're talking about the exhaust manifold. It could have been, and maybe that's just the oxygen sensor wire sticking out of there. I'm not quite.
That's exactly what I pictured when he said that, but it's so hard to even really know where he's going.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like maybe you sprayed all over the exhaust manifold, but it doesn't make sense that the wiring would be bare. And yes, anytime you have bare wiring, that's for sure an issue. Just not quite sure. We need some better information. That's something you're probably going to want to get into somebody. Maybe you want to go to the auto parts store, and they can at least point you in the right direction of what this thing is that you're looking at, or what's going on. Sorry we couldn't be more help.
Well, I want to go to our email of the week from one of our listeners who has a 2007 Honda Pilot, 4-wheel drive, 57,000 miles. The car has been driven in the Phoenix area, parentheses hot, since he bought it brand new. So I think hot, he's playing into his equation. I've heard I should change the timing belt and water pump because of the age. I am aware of a problem that I would face if the belt breaks, but I'm not convinced I should change it now. Maybe wait a year or more. what would you suggest? And I think there's a lot of people that have this question. I know on the Hondas in the manual it says 60,000 miles down below with a little asterisk if it's run at temperatures above 110 degrees on a regular basis.
Consistently.
But, to be honest with you, I spent a little time in the HVAC business. We're not above 110 for more than 1% of the time. I mean, it's so rare that happens. It is a hot town, but I just haven't seen an Odyssey or a Pilot in a long time with a broken timing belt. Have you?
No. Hondas, I can't even remember when the last time I saw a Honda timing belt break. We see this a lot. I think people are being too aggressive, putting these things out at 60,000 miles. It's too much. It's too frequent, and I think it's a waste of money. That belt will make it 105,000 miles. Now, the strange part of this equation is it's 7, maybe 8 years old, depending on when the production date was. So that's more equivalent to like around 85,000 miles in as far as time, and that's a gauge that I use at my shop. I would say maybe 90,000 miles. It's tough. Again, the relationship with your shop, having your regular guy to go to. We can judge a lot about the timing belt based off the condition of the outer serpentine belt. If that thing's really in bad shape, that might be an indicator.
Well, the other thing we mentioned talking before the show is the cooling system, because when you do the timing belt, you are going to do the water pump. I mean, what does the cooling system look like? Maybe it does need a cooling system service, but not necessarily a water pump or a timing belt.
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't mean that it gets a water pump. I'm thinking if that's my car or my customer, we're going to put this thing out. We're going to be checking it every so often. We're going to have a couple deadlines. Maybe based off of the production date, we're going to move that out 6 months. I'm sure it's going to be fine through this year. We might be looking at it next spring. We might say, let's just do it at 90,000. But for now, I think I'd save my money. I was in Vegas this week at a Napa Expo. I didn't get a chance to gamble, but I would gamble on this one. I'd throw my money on the table all day long that this thing will make it to 90,000 without breaking.
Well, you can email us at bumpertobumperradio.com. Email questions for future show topics. We won't necessarily email you back, but we will bring it up on the show and future shows. So we've got Steve, Brenda, and Doug, and maybe time for one more at 602-277-5827. You listen to Matt and Dave, your KTAR car guys, on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Trust. It's hard to earn and sometimes even harder to find. If you live or work in downtown Phoenix, Matt Allen's Virginia Auto Service is celebrating over 20 years of award-winning service at the corner of 7th Street and Virginia. Recognized as one of the best service shops in the country, their customers have come to trust Virginia Auto Service for its A+ rating by the BBB, 2-year 24,000-mile warranties, and free transportation to and from your home or office. 20+ years of earning your trust. Virginia Auto Service. They're serious about service.
Ever wonder how the people that built those old castles kept the rain out? I don't think they did. But let's face it, your home is your castle, and you can protect it because you have Kaiko roofing on your side and on your roof. But don't wait for an emergency. Those other castles have been around for hundreds of years. If your roof is more than 10 years old, you really should have the trusted professionals at Kaiko give you a free roof checkup today. Flat, foam, tile, or shingles, Kaiko handles them all. From a small leak to a complete new roof, Kaiko has you covered. And when you invite Kaiko up on your roof for that free checkup, if you don't need anything done, they'll tell you. That's the kind of trust that results in half of Kaiko's business coming from referrals or repeat customers. Call 602-944-4600 or check KaikoRoofing.com for all the rest, including financing options. Kaiko Roofing. They're crazy about quality.
There's nothing more important than family. Hi, Kurt Rock for Kurt's Auto Repair. Family owned and operated and bumper-to-bumper radio preferred. We've been taking care of Valley families and their auto care needs with a perfect Better Business record for over 27 years. Come experience the difference our ASE MasterTechs can make for you and your family at Kurt's Auto Repair. Just east of I-17 at 22nd Avenue and Bell Road, or online at mycarhurts.com. Gas or diesel, foreign or domestic. If your car hurts, take it to Kurt's.
Few cities are as car-centric as Phoenix, and this is the show that'll help you to better understand that machine you depend on to get around the valley. It's Bumper to Bumper Radio. KTAR News on 92.3 FM and the KTAR app for Android and iPhone.
Welcome back to Bumper Radio. I am Matt Allen along with Dave Riccio, and we are enjoying quite a cool May morning. I don't know when it was this cool last time, but I don't think it's going to last. And one of those items that is very sensitive to the heat, and we're going to get blasted, I'm sure, with 100 degrees. This is it. It's torture season now. Your battery is one thing under the hood of your car that you can be proactive on and replace and get that taken care of before it happens to be you're going out to that wedding.
Oh, tuxedo and everything. Nothing
graduation.
Like staring under the hood with a tuxedo on.
How'd you like to be the guy or the gal that misses high school graduation because you're being cheap Charlie on the battery and wanted to let it go a little bit longer? On next week's show, you're not going to want to miss. We're going to have the folks from Interstate Battery here. If you have questions about your battery, save them for next week or be out there listening. You're going to learn a lot about batteries and understand what you need to do to make sure what a good battery is, what a bad battery is. A cheap one, there's a difference between a cheap one and a good one and an expensive one and an inexpensive one. A lot to learn about batteries. So next week, that's what we'll be talking about.
Well, we got some phone calls that we want to get to. I'm going to go with Doug in Scottsdale on a 2008 Chevrolet Tahoe. Hey, Doug, you are on Bumper to Bumper Radio. What can we do for you?
Hey, guys. I have a question about oil, but before I do that, my 08 Tahoe's got about just under 50,000, and I had a TPMS go out last year, so I had to go ahead and replace all four, just as a side note.
Yeah, that was a good idea. You probably didn't have to. But,
no, I didn't have to.
Yeah, but exactly. One goes bad. They're all the same age. They've got an internal battery. You're not going to pay to have that thing retested and have the hassle again. So good one there.
Exactly. But it was about that age where it was time, so just went ahead and did all four. I had a question about switching this vehicle over to synthetic oil. Can you tell me the pros and cons on that?
I'm personally a big fan of synthetic oil. I use it in my Honda Element. I always have because I'm hard on the car. I still change my oil every 5,000 miles. Some people will use synthetic oil because they want to extend the oil change intervals and maybe they're mathing it out and maybe it's cheaper. It's better protection for the car. So the engine is gonna put up with more, and I drive my car like a scolded dog, and there's I want to take care of it, so I use synthetic oil. That's just me.
Well, his question was transitioning to. And when the synthetics came out, the mobile ones in the 80s and such, the technology has changed. The seal technology, the oil technology, the additives. There was some times where there was the myth, maybe it was the urban legend, if I start using synthetic oil, my car is going to start leaking oil.
I think I remember seeing that when it first did come around. You would change oil, go to synthetic, and these cars are leaking all of a sudden. You're like,
yeah, that was like 1983 though. So 2008 car in 2015, don't worry about it. Just get your oil change and make your shift over to synthetic. But again, like you said, Dave, I'm not doing it to extend the drain interval. Maybe in this case, I'd take it from a 3,000-mile oil change to a 5,000-mile oil change. I'm not gonna care what the light in the Tahoe tells me. Okay, change your oil or the percentage. I'd probably shift it over to a 5,000 because that's synthetic. Maybe that's the difference when the radiator hose blows and the car gets hot, whether you wipe out the bearings or just blow the head gasket, or whether you make it off the freeway if something goes wrong. I like it for the protection.
Thanks for the call, Doug. We're going to go with Steve in Scottsdale on a 2005 Jeep Cherokee V8. How can we help you, Steve?
Hi, guys. Thanks. I've got another engine light, which seemed to came on about 1 month after the warranty ran out. Got 100,000 miles on it, and I've had it checked 3 different places, usually in anticipation of emissions testing. And 2 independents, 1 dealer. Best answer I've gotten yet is we don't know. We'd have to tear the whole thing down. And, I did a gas cap, run premium on it. Everything runs fine, but I cannot get that engine light to go off.
Did they give you any sort of idea what because we plug in that check engine light when it's on, there's going to be an error message. Did they give any idea what the error message was?
Like I said, the best one I've heard so far is we get different messages when we plug it in at different times. we don't know what it is. We just got to start going down the line and tearing it apart. And I'm like, no way. There's a way to get past emissions, which you probably shouldn't talk about, but that I can get through it, and it runs fine. And I bet it would pass with the light on, but they won't let you in. So, but they never tell me.
Well, no, the problem is it won't pass with the light on because it means that the car's not running right. The reason that light's on, the car is doing a self-test, and when it comes across its own, it can identify that it has an issue with itself. It's not too proud to admit it has a problem, and that light comes on. So these two different shops that you're going to, are they actually bringing the car in and diagnosing it? Are you paying them anything for that conclusion?
Yes, I'm paying for the diagnostics, and one of them is diagnostic. There's two shops, independent shops, and one was the dealer, the Ford dealer.
See, I just wonder if there's just not something getting caught in translation if we have to tear it all down. I'm going to go out on a limb and let's just make an assumption that it's an evap failure. Now, I wouldn't like to hear someone tell me I got to tear my car apart. That's a word that if we use that in this shop, we don't tear things apart. There's a diagnostic fault code there, and maybe it's for, we talked about emissions last week, maybe it's for an evap leak. So you need to find out what that is. And then if they're charging you, I mean, this is a difficult one. They're charging for a diagnosis. They're telling you that there's a problem, and it sounds to me like you're electing not to go take their advice, maybe because of the fear of, quote, what tear it down means. So maybe you're looking for an answer that you're not getting, so you're keeping going to two independents and a dealer, and you're seeking the right answer, doctor shopping.
I think
maybe.
Out of 3 shops, somebody's got the right answer. And, you can talk to 5 different technicians, you're going to get 4 different answers, and 3 of them's right. So I think that somebody's got to be on the right path. It can't be that complicated.
And they could all be on the right path. It's just not the information that you want to hear, possibly. So I would go back to the one that you think is the most appropriate, that you had the best feeling about, and say, okay, fix it. Let's not try to circumvent the system. Fix the car, but then here's the beauty of it. They're going to own it when they're done with it. When they tell you the car is fixed, it's got to be fixed. But you've got to allow them the leeway to do that.
Well, I think the point of the show is that there is room for diagnosis when it's there, and do you pay for it? Is it worth it? Yes, it's worth it if you're working with a good qualified shop, which you can find at Bumper to Bumper Radio. Thanks, Bree, for answering the phones and running the show. If you're looking for a friendly, honest, competent shop, again, bumpertobumperradio.com. Remember never to text and drive. From all the shops at Bumper to Bumper Radio, happy Mother's Day weekend.
It sounds like they've just had the accurate automotive experience. We're family owned and operated and have served the Mesa, Tempe, Gilbert communities for over 22 years. We focus on building long-lasting relationships and, oh yeah, listening to you so that we can understand, meet, and exceed your expectations. One location, 14 bays, 88 years of automotive expertise, and a passionate commitment to customer service and excellence. My name is Lee Weatherby, and I approve this message because it's true. We love what we do, and we want to do it for you. Accurate Automotive, the home of friends serving friends.
Join us for everything automotive on Bumper to Bumper Radio with Dave Riccio and Matt Allen, the KTAR Car Guys, every Saturday 11 to noon on KTAR News, 92.3 FM.
Spring is here, but big bad summer's just around the corner. Join us this Saturday for the top 10 tips to prepare your car for the heat.
And remember, 24/7, there's bumpertobumperradio.com. It's a must for the best car repair and body shops you can trust. Drive in anxious, cruise out feeling fine with Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hi, Jerry Colangelo inviting you back to 1965 as we celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Gold and Patriot courses at the historic Wigwam Resort. Our celebration kicks off this Memorial Day weekend with Bunker to Bunkers Throwback with Bunkerville Golf Tournament benefiting Phoenix Children's Hospital and the Fighter Country Partnership. The 2-person scramble is loaded with special throwback prizes, lunch, and a coupon for a free second round of golf, all for just $82. Room specials start as low as $100.